Part 49. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 485. The sudden disappearance of the river crab leader attracted the attention of many people. However, no matter how others searched, they could not find any trace of the river crab leader. Shi Wuxin and others who had planned to use the river crab leader and Chen Ronghuo as bait were all helpless. While some people were still looking for the trace of the river crab leader, on this day, in the river crab world, Huang Lin, Ho San, Meng Tian, Wang Chao, Zhen Qinzan, Zhu Daipen, Li Haishui. There were also people from the Five Factions Alliance, as well as Chang Sun Zhengzin, Mo Liking, Huang Xiaoshan, Yu Depeng, and Chen Ronghuo's spiritual pets, including the big river crab and the fat cat, all gathered in the square of the river crab leader. Everyone and Chen Ronghuo's spiritual pets looked at the origin mother tree in front of them, and their eyes unconsciously revealed expectations. Before this, Chen Ronghuo had told them about the wonderful uses of the origin mother tree. Knowing that once the energy accumulated by the origin mother tree is released and the law tide is opened, their cultivation will increase significantly in a short time. Chen Ronghuo held the fat cat and stood in front of everyone. His mood fluctuated. Although his cultivation had reached the late 9th level at this time, his strength could even be compared with that of a demigod. But now the Black Demon Palace has extended more and more tentacles, and the strength it has shown is getting stronger and stronger. It is almost impossible for him to compete with the entire Black Demon Palace alone. Fortunately, he has the origin mother tree. If he can use the great function of the origin mother tree to let his subordinates improve their cultivation to the limit in a short time, he may not be able to compete with the Black Demon Palace. I don't know what the gods are doing. Chen Ronghuo thought of the gods again in his heart, but his mind only turned on this, and he pinched his fingers and made a special mark. With a whoosh, he imprinted this mark on the origin mother tree in front of him. Boom! As this mark was imprinted on the origin mother tree immediately shone brightly and shot out streams of light. Those streams of light did not go far away, but gathered within the scope of this square, and gradually gathered into a large piece of light. In this large piece of light, Wang Chao, Huang Lin, and other practitioners who had left their own life marks in the origin mother tree, immediately felt that their minds fell into a gentle ocean of laws. This feeling was vaguely similar to when they used the power of faith to practice. This thought appeared in their minds for a moment, and everyone was completely immersed in practice. However, Chen Ronghuo, the owner of the origin mother tree, could not enjoy the law tide of the origin mother tree because he did not leave his life mark in the origin mother tree. He shook his head with some regret, put the fat cat in his arms on the ground, and left this area. When he put the fat cat down, the fat cat seemed to unconsciously stretch out its tongue and licked him. Chen Ronghuo shook his head and chuckled. Next, you will be responsible for guarding here, and no one is allowed to get close. After walking out of the square, Chen Ronghuo ordered his men who were guarding outside. This square has been set up with a protective formation by Zhen Qinzan, but just in case, Chen Ronghuo still arranged a large number of guards around it. After everything was arranged, Chen Ronghuo came to his retreat room and began to practice with the faith power accumulated by the Hexi territory during this period. Now the Hexi world is extremely vast, with countless people, and the faith power generated every day is huge. These faith powers are naturally a bit stretched to supply all his subordinates. But after being purified by the black dog, it is only supplied to him, which is enough for him to practice well. Especially when Chen Ronghuo was in the Baiman territory before, he personally killed a late 9th level cultivator and a peak 9th level cultivator, and he had accumulated a small wave of the law of calamity. Rumble. On this day, just after Chen Ronghuo had been in retreat for a few days, deafening sounds suddenly came from all over the world of gods. In this huge sound, dark holes with flashing purple edges opened up in the sky all over the world. Countless colorful lights poured out from those holes. After these colorful lights fell, the whole world seemed to change in an instant, as if it was affected by some kind of power and was rapidly transforming. Not long after those colorful lights came out, countless black dots began to fly out of those holes with purple edges. When those black dots approached various places on the God's continent, it was only then that it was seen that these black dots were actually countless terrifying monsters. Obviously, those holes with purple edges that suddenly appeared in the sky were the gates of the black magic star. The gods, who had not made any moves for many years, finally started to move again. At the same time, just by looking at the monsters that swarmed out of the black magic stargate that was opened this time, it can be seen that the gods' actions this time were definitely much greater than the last time. The last time, that is, the first time the black magic stargate was opened, the monsters that rushed out from it were only at the 4th level at most. But this time, the gate of the black magic star was opened, and more than 5 levels of magic energy fell from it. At the same time, in almost every large area, there were monsters of level 7 or 8. In some scattered places, there were even 9 levels of monsters. But compared with this, what is more important is that this time, after the gate of the black magic star was opened, it slowly closed until an hour later. But when each black magic star gate is closed, there is a gap, and colorful lights are pouring out from that gap at all times. Those lights merge into the world of gods and change the world of gods. That's not all. As those colorful lights merge into the world of gods, the practitioners in the world of gods suddenly find that those colorful lights will also merge into their bodies, and it seems that they want everyone to establish a special connection with an indescribable majestic existence. The higher the level of the practitioner, the stronger the resistance to these colorful lights. On the contrary, those low-level practitioners, as well as those people or lives who have no cultivation at all, have almost no resistance to these colorful lights. At the same time, under the cover of the colorful lights, everyone in the world of gods felt an extremely powerful pressure. Under such pressure, everyone, including the monsters that fell from the black magic stargate, could not move quickly. Because the faster the movement speed, the greater the pressure. It can be said that this big move of the gods has caused the entire world of gods to fall into great turmoil in a short time. Chen Ronghuo, who was in seclusion, sensed this scene and came out to take a look. After coming out of the secret room, he first found a low-level cultivator who had been changed by the colorful light. At the same time, this cultivator was also one of his subordinates. Li Jianling, 2nd level early warrior. Identity 1, Hexi leader, captain of the 302nd Squad of the Guard Army. Identity 2, NPC. Can post tasks, assist the captain of the 302nd team of Hexiling to practice the bronze statue skill to the 2nd level. You need to beat Li Jianling with an iron rod for 2 hours every day. Task requirements, 1st level initial practitioners. Task time limit, before Li Jianling practices the 2nd level of bronze statue skill. Reward items to carry, 300 experience points the 4th level of iron statue skill. Note 1, only players from other worlds who enter the world of the gods can accept the task. Note 2, before Li Jianling practices the bronze statue skill to the 2nd level, he can get 300 bonus experience points every day. The bonus experience points can only be used as daily rewards. Note 3, the 5th level of iron statue skill issued by the Lord of the Gods can only be used as a reward item. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 486. Do you really want to turn this world into a game world? After identifying Li Jianling's attributes, Chen Ronghuo's face suddenly showed a look of astonishment. He turned to observe other people in the territory. Song Qing, late 1st level cultivator. Identity 1, River Crab Collar Spirit Crystal Rice Grower. Identity 2, Side-by-Side NPC. Publishable tasks, none. Killing can gain a certain amount of experience points. Zheng Tingning, First Level Peak Practitioner. Identity 1, Owner of the Steamed Stuffed Bun Shop on Changsheng Street in Hexiling. Identity 2, Mission NPC. The task that can be released is, hunt 10 portions of fresh demonized black wild boar meat for the bun shop owner. Task requirements, no limit. Mission time limit, until the bun shop closes down. Task restrictions, receive up to 30 portions of demonized black wild boar meat per day. Carry bonus items, 200 experience points, 10 stamina meat bags. Note 1, reward items can only be used as rewards. Note 2, reward items are usually stored in the NPC's personal backpack. The NPC's personal backpack has no weight and is invisible. Note 3, after killing an NPC, there is a certain chance that the reward items will explode, and you can gain some experience points. Chen Ronghuo touched his chin and walked slowly into the bun shop. As he walked into the bun shop, everyone in the bun shop seemed to be frozen in place. They were all motionless, and even their expressions were frozen. Chen Ronghuo walked slowly and came to Zheng Tingning, the owner of the bun shop, stretched out his left hand, landed on him, and began to try to find out whether he could find out the NPC attributes on his body. NPC attribute add 1. NPC attribute add 1. As Chen Ronghuo moved his mind, attributes were immediately included in his own attribute space. When all the NPC attributes in the bun shop owner's body were taken away by Chen Ronghuo used ancient books to identify them again. Zheng Tingning, First Level Peak Practitioner. He Xieling is the owner of a steamed bun shop on Changsheng Street. Status, Light of the Gods is being transformed. This means that even if I can use the power of my left hand to find out the NPC attributes in his body, he will still be transformed into an NPC by the light of the gods later. Chen Ronghuo frowned. Then he raised his head, his deep gaze seemed to pass through the world of the river crab, and then passed through the barrier of the alien space outside. He saw that there were all gaps in the outer sky, and colors were surging outward every moment. The dark magic stargate of light. He had already identified this colored light and knew that this thing was the so-called light of the gods. It seems that as long as the door to the black demon star is not closed, or the source of power of the light of the gods is not exhausted, even if I have the power of my left hand, it will be difficult for me to achieve much. Chen Ronghuo shook his head, raised his left hand, and began to try to see if he could apply the NPC attributes he had just found to a shop assistant. Before adding attributes, Chen Ronghuo first appraised the attributes of the waiter. Jiaziasen, a mid-level first-level cultivator. Identity 1, waiter at a steamed bun shop. Identity 2, side-by-side NPC. Killing can get 150 experience points. After Chen Ronghuo added some of the NPC attributes he had just taken out from the bun shop owner to the waiter, he then appraised the attributes of the waiter. Jiaziasen, killing can earn 170 experience points. After adding 2 points of NPC attributes to Jiaziasen, Jiaziasen's attributes suddenly changed. I don't know how long the commotion caused by the gods will last this time. Chen Ronghuo shook his head and walked out of the bun shop. Now the light of the gods has only changed those first and second level cultivators. The third level and above cultivators have not been changed yet. But if this change in the world of gods lasts long enough, I am afraid that even those high-level practitioners will be changed by the light of the gods. No matter what, let's improve our strength first. Chen Ronghuo walked casually and pondered in his heart, there are also NPC attributes. You can also accumulate some in your hands. Maybe they will be useful at some point. With this in mind, after Chen Ronghuo returned to the secret room for seclusion, he transferred his left-hand superpower to his substitute Shitai, allowing him to turn into his clone and start sweeping the river crab world. He himself continued to retreat. Time passed quickly in Chen Ronghuo's retreat. During this period, there was always a gap in the Black Demon Stargate, and the light of the gods poured out all the time. When a large amount of light from the gods filled the sky and the earth, the pressure that the cultivators on the continent of the gods endured while moving quickly was beyond imagination. Of course, whether it is a powerful cultivator or an ordinary cultivator, if he chooses to move at a not too fast speed, he will bear much less pressure, or even no pressure. So gradually, not many people in the world choose to go out. In such an environment, everyone was talking about it. According to the message passed down by the Lord of the Gods, in the future there will be an alien species called player coming to our world of gods. At that time, we can use the reward items given by the Lord of the Gods to issue tasks and let those players work for us. I don't know if it's true. This is definitely not false, but the only thing I don't know is when those players will arrive. Gradually, many people began to look forward to the arrival of the players. North Sea. Originally, because the crab leader suddenly disappeared, they were preparing to join forces with the Gardo Snake Mother to take down the temple of the god of killing on the Aurora King Island. However, due to the sudden action of the gods, they had to postpone their actions. The remaining 9 king islands in the North Sea also withdrew their forces and did not dare to act rashly during this period. Time passed quickly in this state. On this day, 50 years in the outside world and 1,000 years in the crab world, Chen Ronghuo opened his eyes in the closed-door chamber. As his eyes opened, the void suddenly seemed to strike out a bright white lightning, illuminating the entire chamber. After a whole 1,000 years, with the assistance of a large amount of refined faith power, Chen Ronghuo's cultivation finally broke through. It was not from the late 9th stage to the peak of the 9th stage, but directly broke through to the 10th stage. The general 10th stage cultivator is stronger than a demigod in strength, but weaker than a low-level god. But for Chen Ronghuo, who was originally able to fight across levels, at this time, let alone low-level gods, it is estimated that even medium-level gods have fought several rounds with them. At this time, if Chen Ronghuo makes another breakthrough, he has two choices: one is to break through to become a god, and the other is to continue to rush up and break through to become an 11th level cultivator. If he breaks through to become a god, he will directly become a medium level god. After breaking through to become a god, you can use divine power and your strength will be stronger, but after breaking through to become a god, it will become very difficult to advance. After breaking through to the 11th level, it will be relatively easier to take a step further. Chen Ronghuo stood up from the secret room, felt the powerful power hidden in his body, and took a long breath. But when he raised his head, his eyes passed through the river crab leader, and then passed through the alien space outside. His face sank slightly. After so many years, the actions of the gods have not yet ended. Now, every moment, there is still a large amount of light from the gods pouring out from the gates of the black magic stars, constantly changing the world of the gods. Do the gods want to keep such changes until the players arrive? Chen Ronghuo frowned. But it was only a moment. He stopped worrying about it, stretched his body, and walked out of the secret room. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 487. Chen Ronghuo walked out of the secret room and tried to speed up. But as soon as he took a step, he felt an extremely strong pressure that was almost condensed into substance, acting on him, forcing him to slow down. This pressure was difficult to resist even with his realm. At the same time, when the pressure was extremely strong, a large amount of light of the gods emerged, trying to merge into his body and change his attributes. Are you going to turn me into an NPC? Chen Ronghuo narrowed his eyes. Then he shook his body and scattered all the light of the gods around his body. Other practitioners may be afraid of this so-called light of the gods, but with his realm, these lights of the gods can't even think of merging into his body. And even if these lights of the gods can be integrated into his body in the future, he, who has the ability of his left hand, can also touch it out again. Just thinking about this, Chen Ronghuo can only walk slowly to the square of the Lord's mansion at the speed of a normal person. A strange little tree came into view, and a large area of light and shadow emitted by the little tree. In the light and shadow, Wang Chao, Huang Lin, Ho San, Meng Tian, and others stood up in different postures. At the same time, above the light and shadow, Wang Chao and others also condensed a phantom exactly like themselves. Some of their phantoms wandered in the light and shadow, as if they were immersed in the understanding of the power of the law. Some condensed weapons, and several of them fought each other together, as if they were helping each other to comprehend the secret art. Even Fat Cat, Big River Crab and others participated in it. But what surprised Chen Ronghuo was the sea and sky divine bird. The male and female sea and sky divine birds didn't know what they had comprehended, and the light and shadow they transformed into were faintly fused together, turning into a snow-white bird with 2 bird heads. Of course, after they transformed and merged together, their strength was far beyond before. Then Chen Ronghuo took another look at the cultivation of the group of people. At this time, everyone's cultivation was the same as when he had just let the origin mother tree release the tide of the law. But Chen Ronghuo was not surprised by this. He knew that only when Wang Chao, Huang Lin, and others used the power of the origin mother tree to comprehend the power of the law and comprehend the limit of their qualifications, or when the power of the origin mother tree was exhausted, their cultivation would have a big explosion and break through several realms at a time. If this continues, we should be able to go home soon. Chen Ronghuo raised his head and looked at the sky again, sighing silently. According to the previous statement of the spirit of the ancient book, if he stayed in this world for 300 years, the 2 worlds would begin to merge, and some lives could travel between the 2 worlds. It was just because of the stone of time that he stayed in this world for far more than 300 years. Such a long time, if it were immortal, the memories from a long time ago would probably have been forgotten long ago. But for Chen Ronghuo, all the memories of his life were vivid. He could remember all the scenes of him bullying his sister when he was just born and when he was a child. And these scenes were a touch of the soul for him. The so-called God is not high above, nor does it forget the mundane, but just a state of transcendence. From weak to strong, this is a process. Cutting off any part of this process will no longer be complete. Therefore, for Chen Ronghuo, all kinds of mundane things are still a part of his life. And it is an extremely important part. Thinking of this in his heart, Chen Ronghuo did not go out, but returned to his retreat room again and began to retreat. Enhance strength and do everything possible to protect his family. At the same time, control your own destiny. This is Chen Ronghuo's goal. At the same time, the land of sealed demons, Taisha territory. The Taisha territory is the center of the 106 territories of the land of sealed demons, and it is also the recognized first territory among the 10 territories of the land of sealed demons. There is a huge abyss called the Demon Suppression Abyss in the Taisha territory. The Lord of the Black Demon is sealed in the Demon Suppression Abyss. Standing above the Demon Suppression Abyss, you can see endless demonic energy surging upward from below. Some demonic energy even turns into tadpoles or other forms of life when it emerges, which is extremely strange. These lives transformed by demonic energy have no intelligence, but they are aggressive, so ordinary practitioners dare not come here at all. But at this time, if you look through the demonic energy, you can vaguely see that there are dozens of figures below the Demon Suppression Abyss, working together to inject their spiritual power into a huge formation, as if they are trying to stop someone from rushing up from below. As expected of the Lord of the Dark Devil. One of the figures with 10 sharp horns on his forehead injected power into the formation while staring fiercely at the bottom of the abyss covered by the formation. Under the pressure created by those bastards, we have difficulty even moving, but he still has the strength to continue breaking the seal. 10 horns, If the guy Emperor of Light hears what you said, I'm afraid he will hunt you for another 100,000 years. A floating figure laughed, his eyes full of teasing. The Emperor of Light, also known as the Lord of Light, is one of the four pillars of the world of gods, so he also has another nickname, the Pillar of Light. Humph! The figure with 10 horns on his head snorted coldly, let alone 100,000 years, even if he is given 1,000,000 years, what can he do to me? When his anger was revealed, a huge phantom of a divine dragon with 10 sharp horns loomed behind the figure with 10 horns. As a powerful man born in ancient times, the 10-horned divine dragon fought countless fierce battles with the Lord of Light before he could break through and become the Pillar God, and was even able to gain the upper hand. Even though the Lord of Light later broke through and became the Pillar God, and pursued him for 100,000 years, he was unable to do anything to him. As for that erratic figure, he is the only master of the heavenly demon clan. He is the strongest of the 14th level with the 10-horned divine dragon. At this time, the two of them, together with the king of the 5 elements of the continent in the center of the gods' world, and the lord of the Teishu holy city in the demon-sealed land, were leading 13th level ancient powerful men to use the treasures left by the gods. Formation, together prevent the Lord of Darkness from breaking out of the seal. Okay, don't be careless at this time, Holy Lord Teishu suddenly said, the Lord of Light and the others don't know what they are planning. They have built the core of the Black Demon Star into the God Realm. They are hiding in the God Realm. The Lord of Darkness is afraid of breaking the seal, but we can't. Once the Lord of Darkness breaks the seal and uses the law of destruction he has practiced to destroy the continent of the gods, his strength will inevitably increase dramatically, and we will all be hunted down by him one by one. And I feel that the Lord of Darkness has increased in strength too quickly over the years. They had all witnessed the battle when the Lord of the Black Demon invaded the world of the gods. Although the protagonists of that battle were the gods, some of them, the ancient powerful men, had also been affected, so they knew very well the power of the Black Demon. The terror of the Lord. And in the midst of their discussion, deep in the demon-suppressing abyss, an extremely huge, mountain-like figure was stepping on the bottom of the demon-suppressing abyss, and then raised his hands to support the flashing aura above. On the vast formation. When he put his hands on the formation immediately shot out thick purple thunder, which was linked to the man. But this man seemed to be unaware of pain, and remained motionless despite being struck by thunder. This terrifying figure that looks like a giant holding the sky is the Lord of the Dark Devil, known to all the powerful people in the world of gods today. When the Lord of Darkness wanted to break out of the seal, time was passing quickly. 50 years, 100 years, 150 years. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 488. The further a practitioner goes, the harder it is to advance. It took Chen Ronghuo more than 1,000 years to break through from the late 9th level to the 10th level at a time flow rate 20 times that of the river crab world. But he continued to retreat and broke through from the 10th level to the 11th level, but it took him more than 2,000 years. At this time, based on the normal flow of time, 295 years had passed since he came to this world. Only 5 years left. Chen Ronghuo raised his head in the secret room and saw that as so many years passed, the open doors of the Black Demon Star in the sky of the world of gods finally slowly closed, and the light of the gods no longer emerged from them. But this kind of closure gave Chen Ronghuo a vague sense of the silence before the storm, as if behind the silence, the gods were brewing a more terrifying storm. During these years, Chen Ronghuo did not go out. But through deduction from ancient books, he knew that in today's world of gods, even those 9th level cultivators have all been baptized by the light of the gods and become NPCs. It's time to go out. Chen Ronghuo walked out of the secret room. There was a sense of urgency in his eyes. Even if he had the ancient book, he couldn't predict what would happen in 5 years. So in the remaining 5 years, he must use every method to enhance his strength. Lord. As soon as Chen Ronghuo walked to the square in front of the Lord's mansion, he saw Huang Tishan's figure flashing in the light and shadow around the original mother tree, and was forced to retreat. Huang Tizheng, who had exited the range of light and shadow, saw Chen Ronghuo approaching, and a look of shame suddenly appeared on his face. My subordinates are incompetent. Even with the help of the original mother tree, I have only reached the 10th level. At this time, everyone else was still continuing to comprehend the power of the law in the light and shadow around the original mother tree. Huang Tizheng was forced to withdraw early, apparently because he had reached the limit of his qualifications. Chen Ronghuo looked at Huang Tizheng. Huang Tishan's qualifications are indeed the worst among his subordinates. His withdrawal from the light and shadow of the original mother tree at this time shows this point. However, Chen Ronghuo was not dissatisfied with this. He originally chose to let Huang Tizheng use this opportunity because of his past friendship and did not expect Huang Tizheng to achieve much. Even in Chen Ronghuo's opinion, Huang Tizheng was already very satisfied with being able to break through to the 10th level in one fell swoop this time. For an ordinary practitioner with a qualification of 10, it is difficult and almost impossible to break through to the 10th level, so he can only choose to follow the path of the gods. And once such cultivators become gods, they are only low-level gods. If I want to take a step closer in the future, I don't know how many times more difficult it will be. But now that Huang Tizheng has broken through to the 10th level, it is impossible to continue to advance to the 11th level, but he can still take the path of a god and directly break through to become a medium god. It would be great if I could break through to the 10th level. A smile appeared on Chen Ronghuo's face. Mr. Huang, next I want to take over Bihai and become the Lord of Bihai. After I take over Bihai, I still need you to help me take charge. Chen Ronghuo knew that if he wanted to improve again in the remaining 5 years, he could only use his own law of calamity. And taking Bihai is his first step. My subordinates must do their best. Huang Tizheng bowed. He has followed Chen Ronghuo all the way to where he is today, almost like a dream. When he met Chen Ronghuo, he was just an old man who was seriously poisoned and had only a few years to live, and a village chief who was like a good old man. But now, he has become a 10th level cultivator who is only slightly weaker than the lower gods. Therefore, in his eyes, Chen Ronghuo was extremely tall and majestic like a god. Chen Ronghuo and Huang Tizheng chatted casually for a few words, then walked out of the river crab world and came outside. He took the majestic sea into his eyes, and saw the endless sea water undulating in his eyes, and the huge waves were surging. The land of demons. The territory of Taishu, the demonic abyss. Dozens of ancient figures exerted their power on the vast formation below with great solemnity. Click, click, click. But at this time, the formation seemed to have endured too much power, and there was a faint sound of collapse. It seems that it is about to completely collapse under the huge force. How can you be so strong? A group of people led by the 10-horned divine dragon, the lord of heavenly demons, the king of 5 elements, and the 4 14th level ancient powerhouses of the holy lord Taishu, all had shocked looks on their faces at this time. A 14th level cultivator is no worse than a half-step pillar god in terms of strength. Not to mention that they still have 10-13th level practitioners assisting them at this time. With such power gathered together, even the pillar god level powerhouses would not dare to provoke him easily, and at this time, they were still using the formations left behind by the gods to seal the Lord of Darkness. But at this moment, they could sense that the power exerted by the Lord of Darkness below was completely beyond their imagination. It was as if the Lord of Darkness could break out of the seal at any time. That's not right. Suddenly, the 10-horned divine dragon's eyes condensed, with a look of horror in his eyes. This is not the power of the Lord of the Black Demon himself, this is the power of the Black Demon star that he has accumulated. He actually still has the Black Demon star in his body. The power remains. Boom. But just as he shouted loudly, the vast formation below them finally reached its limit and exploded with a loud bang. The formation exploded, and everyone felt the endless and frightening power coming from below. Their scalps suddenly became numb and they all fled upwards. Boom! But at this moment, accompanied by the second loud noise, a huge figure suddenly appeared from the demon suppression abyss. The endless demonic energy in the demon suppression abyss, at this moment, all rushed towards the huge figure like birds returning to their nests, and was swallowed into its mouth. The huge figure grabbed the sky and the earth with his big hand. One of the ancient strongmen who had transformed into 6 colors could not dodge in time, and was caught by the big hand with a bang, and was grabbed into a pool of blood and flesh. Lord of the Black Demon. At this time, the ancient strongmen such as the 10-horned dragon who had escaped far away dared to look back at the figure that came out of the demon suppression abyss. At this time, the Lord of the Black Demon, whose figure was as huge as a towering mountain, had shrunk rapidly and turned into a human figure of about 1.89 meters. But the eyes of the ancient strongmen such as the 10-horned dragon fell on the Lord of the Black Demon, and they all looked extremely solemn, and did not dare to despise him at all. Whether it is the reputation of the Lord of Darkness or the power he just showed, it is worth it. We were all tricked by him. The attack just now was not the power he should have, but the power of the dark magic star he accumulated. The 10-horned dragon spoke. At the same time, the others also figured out why the Lord of Darkness was so strong just now. What they couldn't figure out was that since the Lord of Darkness still had the power of the dark magic star in his body and could still launch such an attack, how could he have been sealed by the gods in the first place? Swish, swish, swish. At this moment, a series of figures flew quickly from a distance and landed beside the Lord of Darkness, bowing and saluting at the same time, "My lord. Let's go." Seeing this scene, the ancient strongmen such as the 10-horned dragon sighed in their hearts. Knowing that it was too late for them to get rid of the Lord of Darkness or to reseal the Lord of Darkness. At the same time, they also knew that as the Lord of Darkness broke the seal, the entire world of gods would set off an unstoppable catastrophe. A bunch of world termites also want to steal the source of my power. When the 10-horned dragon and others left, the Lord of the Black Demon just glanced at them and ignored them. He raised his head, his eyes were deep, and his deep gaze seemed to see through the gates of the Black Demon stars in the sky and see the scenes behind those gates. But suddenly, he frowned, raised his hand, and wiped a trace of blood from the corner of his mouth. In fact, in order to launch such a blow just now, he was already seriously injured. His strength is strong, but it is not to the extent that he can ignore the siege of more than a dozen ancient strongmen such as the 10-horned dragon. Especially today after eternity. He can sense that the connection between him and the Black Demon Star has been isolated by the gods through layers of means, leaving only a faint trace. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 489. The Lord of the Black Demon stood on the edge of the demon-suppressing abyss. After glancing at the countless Black Demon Star gates in the sky, he turned his gaze to the men who had just rushed to his side. This time he broke out of the seal, and his former subordinates, the Lord of Plague, the Lord of Poison Disaster, the Heavenly Bone Divine General, the Chaotic Soul Divine General, the Demonic Blood Divine General, as well as the Lord of the Killing Temple and the Lord of the Killing Temple, the Lord of the Fallen Temple, the Lord of the Absolute Temple, and Jiatuo Snake Mother, a total of 10.5 step pillar god level powerhouses, all rushed over. These men of his, like him, are all from the Black Demon Star. There was a hint of coldness in his eyes. The Black Demon Star is a star, and it is also a vast world. Its level is not inferior to that of the world of gods, which has grown old day by day, and even the gods who rely on its existence have to make plans for their future. It is precisely because of this that strong men like them can be born on the Black Demon Star. My lord. When Jiatuo Snake Mother and others saw the Lord of Darkness looking over, they all lowered their heads. The Lord of the Black Devil is the most powerful person in the Black Devil star, but as half-step god-level warriors, they will not worship and follow the Lord of the Black Devil because of this. It's just that the Lord of the Black Demon once defeated them on the Black Demon star with his own strength. He also used secret techniques to collect their life marks and be able to control their life and death. That's why they had to surrender to the Lord of Darkness. You all go back. After those old antiques in the world of gods leave this time, they will definitely prevent the next actions of the Demon Palace. You should prepare early when you go back. Also, within 2 years, before the gods make their last move, I want to destroy the world of gods and take back the Black Demon Star. The Lord of Darkness glanced at his 10 powerful men one by one. Yes. After receiving the order, the 10 powerful men left one after another. Except for a few of them, all of them actually only feared the Lord of Darkness and had no feelings. After everyone left, the Lord of Darkness moved and disappeared. Now he is not only physically injured, but also cut off from the Black Demon Star by the gods. His true strength is comparable to that of a 14th level powerhouse like the 10-horned Divine Dragon. Therefore, the first thing he had to do was to recover from his injuries. North Sea. Chen Ronghuo, whose cultivation level had reached the 11th level, even felt a slight shock when the Lord of the Black Demon broke out of the demon-suppressing abyss in the demon-sealed land. He frowned and took a deep breath. He wants to take a step closer in the remaining 5 years, but it is absolutely impossible to do it just by practicing. Whoosh! With a thought, Chen Ronghuo immediately took Huang Tai's Hung with him and flew straight towards the Aurora King Island. Taking Bihai under his command and becoming the Lord of Bihai was his first step after leaving the country. Kill. During the flight, when Chen Ronghuo passed by a sea area, he suddenly found a large number of 7th and 8th level cultivators fighting each other. There seems to be a conflict between several territorial lords over something. The pressure brought by the light of the gods has just disappeared. Are you so impatient? Chen Ronghuo raised his eyebrows slightly. But then, he realized something was wrong. Because he found a familiar figure in the battlefield below, and at the same time, he sensed a soul-suppressing mark that he had left in his body from that familiar figure. The Lord of the Devil's Horn territory, Shang Tong. Chen Ronghuo looked at the 7th level peak cultivator below who was summoning ghosts and gods to fight. He suddenly remembered that when he had just taken charge of the 5-color sea area, he had left a 33-day suppressor in the body of this outsider named Shang Tong of the Temple of Killing. Soul Seal. His original purpose was to learn something about the Temple of Killing through Shang Tong. But plans don't change as quickly as they do. Because of the actions of the gods, and also because of his rapid growth, it is obvious that he no longer needs Shang Tong today. It seems that this war was undoubtedly initiated by the Temple of Killing. Chen Ronghuo shook his head. He really looked down upon such a war in which only 7th and 8th level cultivators participated. However, with the intention of destroying the enemy's plan, Chen Ronghuo pondered for half a second before his figure turned into a stream of light and fell from the sky. When the figure fell down, Chen Ronghuo glanced over and controlled all the cultivators identified through the ancient books as belonging to the Temple of Killing with the secret technique of Gi-Demon Soul. And let them self-destruct their souls. Plop, plop, plop. In an instant, countless corpses fell into the sea. Those cultivators who were fighting fiercely with the people from the Slaughter Temple stood in the void blankly. They all looked at Chen Ronghuo who suddenly appeared in fear, their souls rising. The enemies that they found difficult to deal with all died at the sight of Chen Ronghuo. This scene almost made them all forget their words. Shang Tong, the Lord of the Devil's Horn territory, had just merged with a headless ghost, roaming the battlefield and killing. But when he looked at Chen Ronghuo, who was falling in front of him and so close to him, his heart suddenly became extremely cold. It was like being poured a basin of cold water from head to toe in winter, and his body couldn't stop shaking. When Chen Ronghuo left the soul-suppressing seal in his soul sea, he didn't recognize Chen Ronghuo at all because he hid his appearance. Snap! Chen Ronghuo put his hand on Shangtong's head. Shangtong's body suddenly shook, his eyes showed a look of despair, and countless thoughts suddenly appeared in his mind. The strongest of these thoughts was whether Chen Ronghuo was going to search for his own soul. It was just that Chen Ronghuo's big hand seemed to have special magic power. After covering his head, he immediately felt that he couldn't speak, couldn't move, and couldn't do anything. But just when his heart was in his throat, he suddenly felt his body relax. The reason was that the power of the god-killing pill lurking in his body disappeared in an instant as Chen Ronghuo's hand covered his head. This is... Shangtong's mind suddenly moved, and he thought of the mysterious man he met in the territory. At this time, along with Chen Ronghuo's thoughts, the 33-day soul-suppressing seal that was originally hidden in Shangtong's soul sea was also taken back by him. For him at this time, Shangtong was no longer of much use. Really? Shangtong opened his eyes wide, and the fear in his heart was finally suppressed. But compared with the last time he saw Chen Ronghuo, he felt that he had a relatively intuitive understanding of Chen Ronghuo's strength at this time. No wonder he rushed to oppose the Temple of Slaughter. It turns out that the senior is so strong. Until this moment, Shangtong still couldn't stop the shock in his heart. With just one look, several 7th and 8th level practitioners died. Not to mention the 9th level, even a demigod level strongman might find it difficult to do it. Tell me, should I kill you or not? Chen Ronghuo raised his head and looked at the practitioners around him who were just fighting fiercely. As he looked over, everyone suddenly showed an unprecedented fear. For a strong man like Chen Ronghuo who could kill them with just a look, it was impossible for them to escape. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 490. Chen Ronghuo would naturally not kill those cultivators. He just wanted to scare those people because of his bad taste after practicing in seclusion for thousands of years. Killing is easy for him. But he never kills without reason. After seeing everyone showing fear towards him, Chen Ronghuo smiled, then turned into a stream of light and left here. To become the Lord of the North Sea, he only needs to capture the remaining 9 King Islands in the North Sea. Once he takes over the 9 King Islands, the other forces in Bihai will be a matter of just a word from him, and it won't take any time at all. Boom! Chen Ronghuo continued to rush towards the Aurora King Island, and encountered several battles along the way. At the same time, these battles were actually started by the Temple of Killing. He was not polite about this and easily dealt with all the cultivators of the Slaughter Temple he met. Anyway, this is not a big deal to him, and he can also make a small profit from the Law of Tribulation. But just when Chen Ronghuo was about to arrive near the Aurora King Island, he suddenly heard a strong battle wave coming from the direction of the Aurora King Island. As soon as the pressure brought by the light of the gods subsided, the Temple of Killing was preparing for an all-out war. Are they starting to get anxious too? Chen Ronghuo narrowed his eyes, but did not slow down. Instead, he rushed towards the Aurora King Island at a faster speed. He knew that his biggest enemy who wanted to become the Lord of the North Sea was actually not the remaining 9 King Islands in the North Sea, but the Temple of Killing and the power of Jadot Snake Mother. However, this is both a pressure and a motivation for Chen Ronghuo. With his current state, even if he subdues the entire North Sea and becomes the Lord of the North Sea, he may not be able to break through to a higher level. After all, Bihai's level is still a bit lower. The former half-step pillar god-level powerhouses such as the Master of the Temple of Killing and the Jadot Snake Mother obviously have a huge attraction for Chen Ronghuo. Boom! On the Aurora King Island, the Aurora King burned the power of faith and blasted out a series of divine fists of light, fighting in a melee with 3 10th level experts from the Temple of Killing on the opposite side, as well as a rotting grey-black corpse that controlled the sea water. It took more than 100 years for King Aurora to finally break through to the 10th level after deposing his original demigod state. However, he was originally full of confidence, but he did not expect that as soon as the pressure brought by the light of the gods dissipated, the Killing Temple sent 3 10th level elders to take over his Aurora King Island. At the same time, an ancient yin water corpse that only existed in legends actually came over and killed everyone on sight. His Aurora King Island was brought into chaos. Aurora King, it's not bad that you can break through to the 10th level. I'll give you a chance to join our slaying temple. The world of gods will surely fall. Only by joining our temple of killing can you have a chance of survival. One of the 3 10th level elders of the Slaughter Temple, after seeing the strength of King Aurora, used words to seduce him. Wishful thinking. King Aurora's eyes flashed. If the battle hadn't been near his territory and he could burn the power of faith, he might no longer be an opponent. But when faced with the invitation from the Slaughter Temple, he still refused without hesitation. At this time, he has not yet reached the end of his rope. Because even if he is no match for these people in the end, he can abandon his territory and escape alone. With his 10th level cultivation, no matter where he goes, it will be better than being restricted by joining the Slaughter Temple. In just over 100 years, there are actually 3 more 10th level cultivators in the Temple of Killing. Although these 3 10th level cultivators must have been spawned by the secret method of the Temple of Killing, they are still difficult for us to compete with. Exist. Especially the Lord of the Killing Temple, he didn't know what state he had returned to. The Tianyuan King, Jinwu King, Shiwuxin and other 8 island masters in the North Sea looked at the battle from a distance, with extremely solemn expressions on their faces. No one expected that more than 100 years later, the power of the Temple of Killing would actually expand to such an extent. Now it seems that, let alone the master of the Killing Temple, even these elder-level powerhouses in the Killing Temple cannot be dealt with. Let's do it. I believe that even if there are such 10th level cultivators in the Temple of Killing, there won't be too many. If we cooperate with King Aurora this time, we may be able to keep these 3 elder-level experts in the Temple of Killing and eliminate them. Part of the Temple Master's wings. After being silent for a few seconds, 11 Wuxin gritted his teeth and spoke. Everyone understands the truth behind dying lips and cold teeth. They all know that once Aurora King Island is captured, they may be the next island to be destroyed. Especially 11 Wuxin, who was still thinking about whether he could yin the ancient yin water corpse later. With his cultivator's skills, if he could use the ancient yin water corpse for his own use, then he would be able to break through to the 10th level. By then, heaven and earth will be big, he will be able to live a much better life. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. After making the decision, a group of people immediately set out together and flew quickly in the direction of Aurora King Island. At this time, Chen Ronghuo, who came all the way from the deep blue sea and saw the 3 10th level powerhouses from the Temple of Killing who were fighting fiercely with the Aurora King, was about to take action. Chen Ronghuo saw the Sky Ape King and others rushing over. Finally, after thinking about it for a while, an interesting smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he stopped slightly. It's better not to show up so early. If you show up so early, you can frighten these people and turn around and leave. You have to waste time chasing them. Chen Ronghuo touched his chin. With his current state, it would be too easy to hide his figure and secretly observe the battle without being seen by those involved. Of course, if he wants to go one step further, just like how he killed countless cultivators with just one look on his way here, he will kill the Aurora King, the ancient yin water corpse, the god-killing elder-level powerhouse, and the Sky Ape King. It is obviously impossible for King Jinwu and other demigod-level experts to kill them all with one look. Huang Taizheng stood next to Chen Ronghuo, looking at the battle ahead with emotion in his heart. I think he was just the head of a small village on a small island. But now that he is looking at the battle between the 10th level cultivators on the Aurora King Island in the distance, he can no longer feel much fluctuation in his heart. Over the years, he has cultivated with the help of the power of the original mother tree, and has improved more than just his cultivation level. At the same time, he understood many secret techniques that were suitable for him, and even used the light and shadow clones he had condensed, and often had fierce battles with Huang Linho San of the dynasty, so he had no shortage of combat experience. Even in his opinion, in the battlefield ahead, except for the ancient Yin Water Corps, the others, whether they were the Aurora King who had just broken through to the 10th level, or the 3 10th level elders in the Temple of Killing, all had many flaws. Roar. At this time, the Sky Ape King and others who had just arrived at the battlefield in front saw the ancient Yin Water Corps striding towards them after seeing their arrival before they could join the battle. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 491. Tianyuan, Zhenwu, the three of us contain this ancient Yin Water Corps. 11 Wuxan shouted loudly, and together with the Heavenly Ape King and the Jinwu King, they attacked the ancient Yin Shui Corps. King Fiyu, King Baidu, and others all attacked the 3 elders of the Temple of Slaughter. After the 8 powerful demigods joined the battlefield, the originally chaotic battlefield immediately became clear and distinct. The ancient Yin Water Corps cultivates the law of Yin Corps and the law of water. It is slightly inferior in attack, but it is extremely good at protracted battles. It uses its advantage in defense and occasionally seizes opportunities to bring great benefits to the 3 corpses without hard threaten. However, in another battlefield, due to the addition of the 5 semi-god level powerhouses, the Aurora King gradually gained the upper hand with the power of Burning Faith and began to suppress the 3 10th level elder level powerhouses in the Temple of Killing. 10th level cultivators are generally weaker than lower gods, so 3 demigods working together can almost defeat a 10th level cultivator. Boom! Suddenly, just when the situation was gradually getting better for the people of the North Sea King Islands, the ancient Yin Shui Corps who was fighting with Tianyuan Wangji Wu Xian and other 3 people suddenly broke through with a bang thanks to the attacks of the 3 people. The Island Protection Formation of Aurora King Island. There are 2 island protection formations on Aurora King Island. One is outside, responsible for guarding the islands around Aurora King Island. One of them is only responsible for guarding Aurora King Island. The island protecting formation outside had been destroyed by the ancient Yin Shui Corps before, but what it broke this time was the island protecting formation inside. As soon as the internal island protection formation was broken, the aura of the strangers on the Aurora King Island was immediately exposed to the induction of the ancient Yin Water Corps. Roar! The eyes of the ancient Yin Shui Corps showed a bloodthirsty look. With a roar, the billowing corpse energy immediately turned into a big grey-black mouth and rushed towards the Aurora King Island. It actually wants to swallow the entire Aurora King Island into its mouth to replenish its original power that has been consumed by being sealed for hundreds of millions of years. The ancient Yin Shui Corps was an ancient 10th level powerhouse, not a god. The so-called gods are a group of people who, when their strength reaches a certain level and feel it is difficult to make progress, entrust their true souls in the origin of the continent of gods, thereby obtaining a higher level of power. The higher level of power these people obtain is called divine power. For the gods, regardless of their level of cultivation, one major characteristic is that as long as the continent of gods does not perish, their lifespan will be endless. Of course, once the continent of gods dies, the gods will also perish together because their true souls are connected with the continent of gods. The ancient Yin Shui Corps was a 10th level powerhouse. Although his lifespan was extremely long, he did not have endless lifespan like those gods in the gods continent. While it is sealed, it has been consuming its own original power to maintain its lifespan. After being sealed for so many years, his original power has long been exhausted. Once the original power dries up, it will be completely destroyed. It was precisely for this reason that it set its sights on Aurora King Island. He plans to devour the lives on the Aurora King Island to replenish his own original power. King Aurora, who was fighting fiercely with the 3 10th level warriors from the Temple of Killing, immediately changed his expression when he saw the movements of the ancient Yin water corpse. He was not only worried about the people on his island, but also worried about the statue of his lord. Once his lord's statue is destroyed by the ancient Yin water corpse and he is unable to burn the power of faith, then this battle will definitely be reversed. Almost. In the distance, Chen Ronghuo frowned when he saw this scene, and he was already planning to take action. His purpose is to conquer all the King Islands in the North Sea and obtain the breath of the Law of Tribulation. If this ancient Yin water corpse kills all the life on the Aurora King Island, then his harvest will be reduced by part. It turns out that the island owners of the 9 King Islands in the North Sea are all here, GG. No wonder the Lord has sent me here. It turns out he wants me to help you get rid of them together. But just when Chen Ronghuo was about to take action, a strange GG laugh suddenly came from the distance, followed by a figure wearing a black cloak, streaking across the void and quickly arriving on the battlefield. Hearing this strange laughter and sensing the strength of the incoming person, the faces of the island owners of the 9 King Islands, including King Aurora, suddenly became extremely ugly. The man in black robe who came from a distance was obviously a practitioner of the Temple of Killing. At the same time, looking at the power he exudes, he is the same as the 3 10th level powerhouses from the Temple of Slaying in the field, who are all elder level powerhouses from the Temple of Slaying. Haha, King Aurora, I'll give you another chance. It's not too late for you to join our killing temple. If not, today will be your death. The 10th level elder of the Killing Temple who had previously invited Aurora King to join the Killing Temple but was rejected by the Aurora King laughed loudly, trying to disturb the Aurora King's state of mind and expose his flaws. King Aurora snorted coldly, and used the Divine Fist of Light, which was passed down from the Lord of Light lineage, and punched out, hoping to kill an elder from the Temple of Slaughter before the 10th level cultivator joined the battlefield. It's just that his plan was good, but he was not strong enough. He was blocked several punches in a row, but he failed in the end. Humph, since you don't know what's good and what's good, then suffer death. After the elders and powerful men of the 4 great killing temples gathered together, the 4 of them gathered together, quickly forced the others away, and all attacked the Aurora King. Being besieged by the 4 powerful men, King Aurora was suddenly in danger. His eyes flashed and he began to look for a way out. At the same time, other strong men in the North Sea also felt desperate and wanted to retreat. Go back. But at this moment, a figure suddenly joined the battlefield without any warning, and with a flash, he blocked the ancient Yinshui corpse that wanted to swallow the entire Aurora King Island into his stomach, stretched out a big hand, and slammed the body of the ancient Yinshui corpse like an overwhelming force. With just one blow, the ancient Yinshui corpse, which was extremely powerful and good at defense, was blown away by this man. As soon as Chen Ronghuo made a move, everyone in the field was shocked. The ancient Yinshui corpse was an ancient evil creature. Even if its origin was greatly damaged, it would take 3 demigod-level strong men to hold it back. Chen Ronghuo just slapped it away, which immediately made everyone look at Chen Ronghuo, showing a look of shock. Especially the several island owners in the North Sea, after seeing Chen Ronghuo, they were like ducks with their necks pinched by a big hand, unable to make a sound. They have all seen Chen Ronghuo's portrait. They all know Chen Ronghuo. They know that Chen Ronghuo is the original lord of Hexi territory. More than 100 years ago, after Hexi territory suddenly disappeared, they had all looked for Chen Ronghuo's traces everywhere, but found nothing. Among the crowd, especially the Sky Ape King who had dealt with Chen Ronghuo, at this moment, his eyes were wide open, as if frozen, showing an extremely unbelievable look. He had fought with Chen Ronghuo before, but the strength Chen Ronghuo showed at that time was only equal to his. He never thought that when they met again, Chen Ronghuo would appear in front of him in such a peerless appearance. After slapping the ancient Yinshui corpse away with a palm, Chen Ronghuo turned his head and set his eyes on the 4 10th level elders of the Slaughter God Temple in the distance. At the same time, his face showed an interest. Is this a gift for me to come out of retreat? This time, Chen Ronghuo came here just to subdue the masters of several king islands in the North Sea and become the master of the North Sea. So whether it was the 4 10th level elders of the Slaughter God Temple or the ancient Yinshui corpse, it was a surprise to him. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 492. Boom. Chen Ronghuo moved his body and approached a 10th level elder of the Temple of Slaughter and grabbed him with one claw. Return to 1. Demonic power. This claw had very little change. But when he stretched out his hand, the veins on his arm bulged, like a series of bulging mountains, showing infinite power. Now the world of gods has been infiltrated and changed by the light of the gods over the past 100 years, and the heaven and earth have become extremely stable, but when Chen Ronghuo's hand reached out, the space was still shattered, causing Chen Ronghuo's hand to reach directly in front of the 10th level elder of the Temple of Slaughter. The 10th level cultivator is a little worse than the lower level gods in strength, while the 11th level cultivator is no less powerful than the middle level gods. In addition to Chen Ronghuo's basic operation of being able to fight across levels, the elder had just reacted when Chen Ronghuo's hand had already covered him completely. Boom. The elder of the Temple of Slaughter who had reacted burst out with all his strength, and endless blood light emerged from his body, turning the blood light into a sword of absolute killing, and fiercely slashed towards Chen Ronghuo's big hand. However, after Chen Ronghuo's big hand fell, there was no pause, and he directly smashed the blood-colored sword light of absolute killing into pieces, and then drove straight in and continued to grab the elder of the Temple of Slaughter. The elder of the Temple of Slaughter showed a strong look of horror. His hair exploded all over his body, as if he had just raised his head and found that there was a tiger in front of him staring at him. At this time, the other 3 10th level strongmen of the Temple of Slaughter finally reacted. While the 3 of them were horrified in their hearts, they also knew that if Chen Ronghuo took down one of them, then the next 3 of them would not be too good. So the 3 of them exerted their strength together, forced the Aurora Queen away, and attacked Chen Ronghuo together. 3 blood-gathering swords of slaughter broke through the space in the blink of an eye and arrived in front of Chen Ronghuo. Chen Ronghuo caught a glimpse of the scene from the corner of his eye, and his aura rose up, turning into a rolling black and red flame, sweeping towards the 3 blood-colored swords of slaughter with a fiery and strange and changeable aura. Boom! The 3 blood-colored swords of slaughter collided with the firestorm that Chen Ronghuo had raised. Amid the explosion, there were continuous hissing sounds faintly inside, as if the 3 blood swords could not withstand such heat and had been burned with cracks. But during this process, Chen Ronghuo did not even glance at the 3 people, and his body did not freeze at all. When he stirred up a blazing firestorm, he took a step forward, as if driven by the fire, his speed increased again, carrying a huge hand like a mountain, and the endless wind between his 5 fingers, and with a bang, he grabbed the 10th level elder of the Temple of Slaughter. The more powerful the cultivator, the harder it is to kill. But after Chen Ronghuo's big hand grabbed the 10th level elder of the Temple of Slaughter, he suddenly exerted force, and his 5 fingers were like a powerful secret treasure that had been tempered by thousands of hammers, holding the elder tightly in his hand. Use force, and use more force. The elder struggled frantically in Chen Ronghuo's big hand, but his strength was too much worse than Chen Ronghuo's. After a moment, he could not bear the terrifying pressure of Chen Ronghuo's big hand, and was caught and exploded in Chen Ronghuo's hand. When this man died, the faces of the other 3 10th level elders of the Temple of Slaughter became extremely ugly, and their eyes were even more frightened. They looked at each other and wanted to escape from here. Facing Chen Ronghuo, they felt like they were facing their ruthless palace master. And although their palace master killed people without blinking an eye, he was not as violent as Chen Ronghuo. Chen Ronghuo's performance was just like an invincible beast that roamed the ancient times. However, as soon as the three people moved, Chen Ronghuo turned his head. When Chen Ronghuo's deep and emotionless eyes fell on the three people suddenly felt as if they were stared at by a god of death, and even their souls seemed to be frozen in their bodies. After quietly performing the Gi Magic Soul secret art, Chen Ronghuo immediately moved his body again and rushed towards the three people. Stop! At this time, a woman's clear shout suddenly sounded from a very far distance. This clear shout was not loud, but after it was transmitted here, it seemed to ring in the hearts of everyone, like the prayer of the killing messenger before killing. Chen Ronghuo was slightly startled. But then a trace of contempt appeared in his eyes. Not only did he not stop, but he also accelerated the speed of his attack. He already knew that the one who asked him to stop must be the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple. But that person wanted to stop him with just one word. It was simply wishful thinking. As a cultivator for countless years, Chen Ronghuo's current strength is also the top among the gods. His strong strength also made him more confident. Boom! When his big hand approached the three people finally reacted to the shout of the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple and fled in three directions. Chen Ronghuo's eyes followed one of them. The big hand that seemed to have missed, with a strong wind, suddenly gave off a golden red light, extended forward, and turned into a huge golden red tiger claw, with a sharp claw that seemed to be able to scratch the sky. With a bang, it pierced through the chest of the Slaughter God Temple strongman. And in an instant, it pierced dozens of times. Another Slaughter God Temple strongman died in Chen Ronghuo's hands. After killing this man, Chen Ronghuo did not pause and caught up with one of the remaining two strong men almost instantly. Bang! At the same time, another strong man from the Temple of Killing had just escaped not far away when he saw an ordinary old man appearing in front of him. After the old man appeared, he didn't say anything. He just slashed his palm and blasted out a powerful aura like a heavy axe, blocking him. This old man is also a 10th level strong man. And the strength shown was obviously much stronger than him. This person was obviously Huangtai's Hung, who came with Chen Ronghuo. At the same time, the Heavenly Ape King and others, who were frightened by this sudden turn of events, felt like they were dying. They all had thoughts of leaving and felt that it would not be a good thing to stay here. But at this time, while Huangtai's Hung was fighting with the 10th level strong man from the Temple of Killing, he looked at the Sky Ape King and others in a leisurely manner and said, "Everyone, you have seen the strength of the Temple of Killing. You know their goals better than me. Now my lord has great ambitions and wants to integrate the power of Bihai to compete with the Temple of Killing together. I don't know what you think." In an instant, the Heavenly Ape King and others were startled and looked at Chen Ronghuo involuntarily. Boom 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 boom. At this time, Chen Ronghuo knew that the Lord of the Temple of Killing was coming, and he was already at full strength. He blasted out with his hands, causing endless ripples in the void. Under his attack, the strong man who killed the temple was completely suppressed in an instant. Seeing Chen Ronghuo's violent fighting style, everyone felt a slight sense of powerlessness in their hearts. Even the Aurora King who has advanced to the 10th level is still like this. In their opinion, the strength Chen Ronghuo showed at this moment may have exceeded the 11th level and reached the 12th level. Boom! Finally, after several moves, the 3rd level 10 expert from the Temple of Slaughter, who was repeatedly forced by Chen Ronghuo, also spilled blood into the sky and was buried in Chen Ronghuo's hands. Roar! At this time, the ancient Yinshui corpse that had been slapped by Chen Ronghuo before was sent flying. After seeing the strength displayed by Chen Ronghuo, his pupils shrank, and he turned around and ran away. It had just been released, and I didn't want it to die in the hands of someone who had never even heard of it. If you dare to run away, I will chase you to the ends of the earth. Chen Ronghuo caught a glimpse of the movements of the ancient Yinshui corpse from the corner of his eye, and immediately scolded him. When the ancient Yinshui corpse heard Chen Ronghuo's words, his body suddenly stagnated. Chen Ronghuo subtly used the power of his soul amidst the scolding. And you too, whoever moves first, I will kill. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 493. There was a silence in the field. The ancient Yinshui corpse was stuck in the field because of Chen Ronghuo's words. The lords of the 9 King Islands in the North Sea, led by King Aurora, also felt cold in their hearts, and no one dared to act rashly. From the time he appeared on the scene to the time he killed the 3 10th level elders of the Temple of Slaughter, Chen Ronghuo was unstoppable and took too little time. They all believed that if Chen Ronghuo wanted to kill them, it would definitely not take too long. This is especially true for the weakest Tianyuan King Jinwu King and the semi-god level strongmen such as Shi Wuxin. This is not a lie, but Chen Ronghuo has proved it with real results. If the strongmen of the Temple of Slaughter are mountains and they are tigers, then the means Chen Ronghuo just showed is to knock the mountain and shock the tiger. Even the ancient Yinshui corpse who has lived for countless years was stunned by Chen Ronghuo at this moment. At this moment, only the sound of Huangtai's Hung and the elder of the Temple of Slaughter was still ringing. Rumble. Endless blood light spread from the distant horizon, like a rolling fire cloud, faintly condensed into a sharp and murderous blood sword, pointing directly at Chen Ronghuo. Facing this blood sword, even the ancient Yinshui corpse, the Aurora King, and the 8 semi-god level strongmen who were affected, all felt a sense of fear in their hearts at this moment. It seemed that the one who controlled this blood sword was the law of killing in the heavens, who had transformed and cultivated into a god. He wanted to kill the heavens, let all laws return to one, and rebuild a world. Master of the killing god. Chen Ronghuo looked solemn. His eyes looked through the endless blood cloud in the distance and the blood sword condensed in the blood cloud, and faintly saw a graceful figure of a woman, holding the hilt of the sword, walking towards him. Dark Moon. Identity, Master of the Killing God. Title, Lord of Killing. Original strength, half-step pillar god of the Black Demon Star. Current strength, peak god of Black Magic Star. Secret skills, God-killing art, God-killing sword, killing field, killing avatar. Note, the origin of the power of the world of gods is sealed by the gods, so the practitioners of the world of gods cannot follow the path of gods and cannot become gods. Dark Moon is the god of killing of Black Magic Star, and can quickly restore strength when the gate of Black Magic Star is opened. Chen Ronghuo has long known that as long as he wants to take over the entire North Sea, he will definitely run into the Lord of the God-killing Temple. However, he did not expect that he would run into the Lord of the God-killing Temple head-on when he came out of retreat this time. The god of killing of Black Magic Star. Chen Ronghuo's momentum rose, and a hint of fighting spirit was faintly born in his heart. His current cultivation is the 11th level, and the corresponding god level in terms of strength is a medium god. However, although the Lord of the God-slaying Temple had restored her strength to the level of a peak god with the help of the opening of the Black Demon Star Gate, and was only one step away from being able to restore her to the original half-step pillar god level, Chen Ronghuo was not afraid when facing her. After thousands of years of seclusion in the crab world, Chen Ronghuo spent more than just all his time on improving his realm. He was confident that if he fought with the Lord of the God-slaying Temple now, even if he was defeated, the Lord of the God-slaying Temple would not be able to do anything to him. Thinking of this, his eyes turned slightly and fell on the 10th level elder of the God-slaying Temple who was fighting with Huangtai's Hung in the distance. As he looked at it, a wisp of gray air immediately emerged from the darkness, weaving into an invisible net carrying the aura of disaster, calamity, curse, etc., which enveloped the elder. As the invisible net approached, the elder of the Temple of Slaughter, who was fighting with Huangtai's Hung, immediately felt a lot of illusions in his mind. It seemed that there was an evil creature with 9 heads and thousands of arms, depriving his luck, spreading disasters, and cursing in his soul sea. Boom! In this state, he was unable to dodge, and was cut in half by Huang Tishan's hand knife with a bang. When his body was cut in half, he looked down and saw that the wound on his waist was actually green blood. And in the blood and wound, there were white maggots wriggling. Buzz! Indistinctly, he felt that the 9-headed 1,000-handed monster in the soul sea seemed to be smiling at him. In the smile, his soul was shaken, and he could no longer hold on, and died in the field. So far, the 4 elders of the Temple of Slaughter, who had a cultivation level of up to level 10, all died in the hands of Chen Ronghuo. And all this happened at a very fast speed. Even the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple, who had already started to rush here, was still far away. Old Huang, I leave this to you. I will go meet this Lord of the Slaughter God Temple. After killing all 4 elders of the Slaughter God Temple, Chen Ronghuo moved his mind, and his figure turned into a stream of light, rushing straight to the blood-red killing cloud that was rapidly gathering here in the distance. Seeing Chen Ronghuo leave, King Aurora and others looked at each other, and their eyes were faintly filled with strange colors. Don't think too much. Just at this moment, Huang Tai's Hung sneered and said, I know that you all think that with my strength, I can't keep all of you. Of course you are not wrong. But as long as one of you moves first, I will keep that person, and later I will suggest to the Lord to execute him. I believe that with my strength, it is still no problem to keep only one of you. As soon as Huang Tai's Hung said this, the expressions of everyone in the field froze. This move is too cruel. Huang Tishan's strength is stronger than that of a 10th level elder of the Temple of Slaughter. If he takes action, no one in the field can guarantee that they can escape from him. Even the ancient Yinshui corpse and the Aurora King were the same. At this time, as Chen Ronghuo approached the killing cloud, the cold and piercing killing intent also emerged from the depths of his soul. Chen Ronghuo's soul was just shaken, and he expelled the killing intent and shook it out. Then his eyes were filled with his rainbow-like fighting spirit, and with a bang, they collided with the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple who was holding a blood-red sword in the killing cloud. Chen Ronghuo's eyes were high and blazing like fire, while the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple's eyes were dead and silent like ice in the cold. When the two met, the void immediately trembled, and even began to shake gradually, as if the entire void was about to be destroyed by the eyes of the two. Boom! When the void began to shake, Chen Ronghuo and the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple started to attack almost at the same time. Black and red flames burned fiercely on Chen Ronghuo's hand, as if a demon god had walked out of the ancient times. With one claw, he grabbed out with terrifying power, and with a bang, he broke through the killing cloud of the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple and grabbed her body. Scream! The sound of the sword rang out, and the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple held the blood-red sword of killing, and with a slight lift, the pure sword energy cut through all obstacles in front of him and rushed towards Chen Ronghuo's hand. Boom! The two collided with each other, stirring up countless ripples, and even the space exploded, revealing a huge black hole. After the attack, Chen Ronghuo withdrew his hand and stood. He glanced at his arm from the corner of his eye, and saw a huge wound on his arm. The wound was covered with a blood-colored energy, entangled with the law of killing. Even though he had refined the blood of the immortal demon, it was difficult to recover for a while. It's really strong. At the same time, under the entanglement of the blood-colored energy, Chen Ronghuo felt even colder all over, as if possessed by an evil spirit. It was not until this moment that he truly felt the strong pressure from the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple, but under this cold stimulation and strong pressure, his heart became more and more burning. When Chen Ronghuo first came to this world, he could not even think of a half-step pillar god-level strongman. But now, he can face the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple directly. Although the current Lord of the Slaughter God Temple has not yet recovered to her peak level, she was once a half-step pillar god-level strongman, right? Return to 1. Demon Blood. Chen Ronghuo's mind moved, and he performed the Demon Blood secret art in the Return to 1 secret art, mobilized the undead law, and stimulated the undead demon blood in his body to the limit. As the Return to 1 Demon Blood secret art was activated, the wound on Chen Ronghuo's arm flashed with blood, and the killing law remaining in it was all expelled. At the same time, his wound healed in the blink of an eye. Seeing this scene, the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple, who had seemed so high and mighty after slashing out with the sword, also showed a trace of astonishment on his face. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 494. Seeing that Chen Ronghuo had recovered from the injury on his arm in such a short time, the murderous intent in the eyes of the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple suddenly became more fierce. She swung her sword and then slashed out with another sword. After the sword approached Chen Ronghuo, it suddenly split and turned into thousands of sword lights, slashing towards Chen Ronghuo from all directions. In the center of the sword light, Chen Ronghuo's heart was awed, and he hurriedly performed the secret art of returning to 1. Demon Flame. As he stepped forward, he stirred up endless black and red flames, sweeping towards those sword lights. Sizzle. The sound of the flames burning fiercely sounded, as if the sword energy stimulated by the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple had been broken inch by inch due to the high temperature of the flames. Yon. Suddenly, just as Chen Ronghuo had just defended against this move, the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple's body suddenly merged with the sword of killing in his hand, turning into a blood-colored sword shadow, and with a humming sound, broke through the flame barrier stirred up by Chen Ronghuo, and fiercely slashed at his chest. The sword fell on Chen Ronghuo, and immediately the flesh on Chen Ronghuo's chest was turned upside down. At the same time, he was also chopped out by the sword. You killed 4 of my 10th level elders, and you will pay with your life today. The Lord of the Slaughter God Temple shouted coldly, and approached Chen Ronghuo again. Want to kill me? This strength is not enough. Chen Ronghuo stopped retreating and saw the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple rushing towards him. With a wave of his sleeves, he actually summoned countless grey talismans. The patterns of these talismans flashed with luster, and under his control, they were linked together. After a moment, they actually formed a talisman array, which enveloped the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple from afar. Chen Ronghuo practiced in seclusion in the river crab world for thousands of years, not only to improve his cultivation and perfect the secret art of unity. He could not practice in the law tide stimulated by the origin mother tree, but he could enjoy the basic ability of the origin mother tree, that is, to enjoy 3 to 5 times the effect of understanding the power of the law. In this state, in addition to using a large amount of faith power refined by the black dog, during the time of retreat, Chen Ronghuo also studied talismans, formations, refining tools, and even alchemy. And what he used at this time was the means of setting up formations with talismans. In this talisman formation, he superimposed a large number of talismans such as disaster talismans, bad luck talismans, and curse talismans. And all these talismans were strengthened to the peak by his left-hand ability. Boom! As the talisman formation was activated, a huge figure with 9 heads and thousands of arms immediately appeared in the center of the talisman formation. As soon as this figure appeared, it waved many arms and attacked the Lord of the Killing God Temple. This talisman formation was Chen Ronghuo's real trump card to fight against the Lord of the Killing God Temple. Hissing. The Lord of the Killing God Temple did not retreat but advanced and slashed with a sword. Her sword was so sharp that she cut off dozens of arms of the disaster clone that Chen Ronghuo summoned with the talisman, which combined the law of calamity, the law of curse, and the law of disaster. As soon as the arm of the disaster clone was cut off, a large amount of gray air emerged from it. These gray airs followed the killing sword of the Lord of the Killing God and drilled into her body. The Lord of the Killing God laid a blood-colored sword light in front of him, trying to intercept those gray air. But some of the air rushed into her body as if they could ignore her defense. The Lord of Killing changed his face and finally retreated. At this time, the arm of the disaster clone that had just been cut off by the Lord of the Killing God was reborn in an instant, as if it had not been damaged at all. The Lord of the Killing God stopped his action, held the killing sword upside down, and his cold eyes wandered between Chen Ronghuo and the disaster clone he summoned with the talisman array, somewhat hesitant. Which ancient strongman in the world of gods are you, or the inheritor of whose Tao? Suddenly, she asked in a cold voice. Except for the ancient strongman, the later practitioners in the world of gods almost all walked the path of gods. So after seeing the strength displayed by Chen Ronghuo, she regarded Chen Ronghuo as one of the old antiques who had lived for countless years in the world of gods. Only those old antiques, or the inheritors of the Tao of an old antique who had fallen, had such strength. When the Lord of the Killing God Temple looked at Chen Ronghuo was also looking at the Lord of the Killing God Temple with interest. Dressed in black, with skin as white as snow, a pointed chin, and a beautiful and delicate face, if it weren't for her two cold eyes, she would really be a peerless beauty. Chen Ronghuo has been in the world of gods for so long. If the broken tail of the mother of the Gardo snake is not counted, the strongest female practitioner he has seen is probably the Lord of the Killing God Temple. My name is Chen Ronghuo. After a moment of silence, Chen Ronghuo reported his name. Chen Ronghuo. The Lord of the North Sea Crab Territory? The Lord of the Slaughter God Temple raised his eyebrows. It was not until this moment that he realized that the person in front of him was actually the name of a person that his subordinates had reported to her more than 100 years ago. But at that time, in her subordinates' reports, Chen Ronghuo seemed to be just a demigod. A demigod was worth paying attention to for her at that time. But for her at this time, a demigod-level strongman could be easily slaughtered. But now it seems that her subordinates at that time obviously underestimated Chen Ronghuo's strength. Otherwise, it would be impossible to make such rapid progress in just over 100 years, unless Chen Ronghuo was a strong man like her who was resurrected and could use the opening of the black magic stargate to accelerate the recovery of strength. Chen Ronghuo, I admit that you are quite strong, but do you think that with your strength, you can stop the footsteps of the Slaughter God Temple? The Lord of the Slaughter God Temple stared at Chen Ronghuo. She had already regarded Chen Ronghuo as one of the ancient strong men in the world of gods. How can we know if we can do it if we don't try? Chen Ronghuo smiled. I don't care about other places, but I will defend the North Sea. You can't defend it? The Lord of the Slaughter God Temple had a firm belief in his cold eyes. If you are willing to join my Slaughter God Temple, you can still keep your life. Otherwise, I can't take the North Sea this time. Next time, I will not be alone. If it's not you, then who else? Jiatuo Snake Mother. Chen Ronghuo raised his head slightly. If it's her, I would like to see what happens if you two attack together. Humph. The Lord of the Slaughter God Temple snorted coldly, turned around and left without saying anything. He didn't even say anything harsh. Chen Ronghuo's strength, especially the disaster clone summoned by Chen Ronghuo, was indeed beyond her expectations. Especially now, her body was still filled with that strange grey breath that made her feel bored and uneasy, and at the same time with a curse. She knew that she was alone, and she was afraid that she couldn't do anything to Chen Ronghuo this time. So she didn't say anything nonsense. As for the 4 elders of the Temple of Slaughter who were killed by Chen Ronghuo, she felt a little distressed, but that was all. Those elders of the Temple of Slaughter were only brought into being by her special secret method of the Temple of Slaughter, and they would never make any progress in their lives. If she had followed the Lord of the Dark Demon to invade the world of the gods, she would have had not only 10th level practitioners, but also practitioners of higher levels, and even practitioners with strength comparable to her current strength. Seeing the Lord of the Temple of Slaughter leave, Chen Ronghuo also breathed a sigh of relief. Then he looked at the avatar of disaster in the distance, and after feeling that the power contained in it had weakened a lot, he quickly waved his hand to summon it back. Then he used his means to turn it back into a piece of talisman and put it away. Even though he had the ability of his left hand, he still needed a lot of precious materials to carve out talismans of this level. So even after so many years, he didn't have many sets of such talismans in his hands, so he had to use them sparingly. Did you see it all? At the Aurora King Island, Huang Tishan's heart was in his throat when Chen Ronghuo and the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple fought. It was not until Chen Ronghuo used the means of the talisman array to summon the disaster clone, interrupted the attack rhythm of the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple, and forced him to leave that he breathed a sigh of relief. It's different now than 100 years ago. 100 years ago, you could still form an alliance under the coercion of the Slaughter God Temple to fight against the Slaughter God Temple. But now, the strength of the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple has recovered to the level of the peak gods. If the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple personally takes action and wants to destroy the North Sea, even if you form an alliance, what can you do? As soon as Huang Tishan's words came out, everyone in the field immediately looked uncertain. If it was before the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple appeared, they would still hold a little luck, but after the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple appeared and showed such strength, they all knew that with their strength, facing the Lord of the Slaughter God Temple, life or death is just a matter of one sword. Seeing that no one spoke, Huang Taizheng continued, "My lord wants to unify the North Sea and fight against the Temple of Slaughter. Do you have any ideas?" After a moment of silence, Shi Wuxin among the crowd suddenly said, "If we respect Lord Chen as the Lord of the North Sea, I wonder how Lord Chen will treat us." Huang Taizheng smiled immediately, "I don't know about this. If you want to know, you can wait for my lord to come back. In addition, I advise you not to think about leaving the North Sea, because my lord has a special tracking method. No matter where you go, he can find you back with just a thought." When Huang Taizheng was speaking, everyone looked up and looked at Chen Ronghuo, who had turned around after forcing the Lord of the Temple of Slaughter back, and they all smiled bitterly. Escape? Who dares to escape at this time?